Welcome to BitBoy Crypto. My name is Ben. Out here in sunny, well, it's actually a little overcast, Los Angeles, California. Here for the Outer Edge NFT conference this week. Really excited. Going to be on a Twitter Spaces here in a few minutes, talk about the conference. And, they renamed it to the Outer Edge. Why? Well, it's a Disney World ride now. Wait, no, that's not it. It's because they decided that the NFT word itself is a bad word, right? All these NFT conferences are taking the word NFT out, right? Am I right? But look, guys, let's talk about Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin right now is coming in at $28,000, 212. 28,212 is the last time I looked. Be honest with you, it was an hour ago. And I just want to have this talk about Bitcoin, about opting out of the bank system, about the Ponzi scheme that is banks, stuff that we're seeing around the world right now. So let's start with the price of Bitcoin. So the price of Bitcoin is at 28. Now, can we just officially put to bed the 12K narrative? Can we put to bed the internet.com bubble, right? That we're going to see the price of Bitcoin go all the way down to a few $1,000s because it's on a 10-year cycle. It's not on a 4-year cycle repeating. Like, I can't with these people. I literally can't. Like, guys, all the evidence is there. You just look at the price of Bitcoin every 4 years and it does the same thing. And you would think people would be smart enough to realize it by now. But yet, for whatever reason, people just want to continue to ignore the obvious. And people are calling for Bitcoin. Now, look, this is important. I think this is a really important point here, is that you have to keep in mind that a lot of times someone will give you a target. Like I said $10,000 to $14,000 where we expected Bitcoin to bottom. But what happened? November comes around, which is when we were targeting for the bottom, and it gets down to 15.2 on some exchanges. And I started looking at it and started saying, if FTX can't send it down further than this, then what can? And that has been proven true. And so we pivoted. It's okay for people to have targets and pivot. And I think a lot of times people really want to ignore the obvious. And I think for me, I got a little thing coming out of my shirt there. Look at that. For me, being able to pivot is something that has been very important because when we thought Bitcoin was going to $100,000, a lot of people got hurt by that because we just stayed so stuck on the number and we didn't pivot. And we tried to wait too long when it was very clear that the price had moved and things had gone differently. And we pretty much, for the last 15 months, we've freaking nailed Bitcoin on this channel. We've nailed it, almost to the dollar. The bottom, we called the bottom. We called the pump at the beginning of the year. We called it all because I stopped looking at the numbers and I just started looking at the flow of the 4-year chart and what's going on. Started focusing more on that. And guys, these people are still telling you we're going to 12K. They're insane. We've now invalidated every freaking structure that would send us down that low. I mean, you want to see something impressive? Go look at the 1-year weekly chart of Bitcoin. And take a look and see what that thing is doing. It don't look bearish at all. It does not look bull trappish. This still may end up being considered technically a bull trap, but that doesn't mean we're going to lower lows. I think we're going to go to 30, come back down, maybe test 20 again, pop back up. Guys, as long as there's a gap sitting there at 20,300, it's hard for me to really believe that we're going to move on from that and not fill it. So definitely you can look for that, in my opinion, at some point. People told me that, or they asked me, they said, well, what do I do? I didn't dollar cost average in. I said, well, wait for 19,000 because I think it's going to go back to 19,000. Even though it doesn't feel like it, the history says it's going to go back down to 19,000. You know what it did? Went right back down to 19,000, popped right back up. The history tells us it's going to go back down to $20,300. That's what history tells us. CME gap, the probabilities are it goes back down there. Does it feel like it now? No. Does it feel like we could go to 35, 40K? Maybe, yeah. But ultimately, I think we're probably going to retest that just because that's what history does. Now, will we retest it after a bull run? That's possible as well. But guys, remember this. Bitcoin's fuel is the macro environment. Bitcoin is still doing what Bitcoin's always done, regardless of the macro. The macro is fuel. The stuff that's going on with the banks right now, we're looking at a world collapse of the banking system. You understand that, right? This legal Ponzi scheme, just like any Ponzi scheme, it's eventually going to topple. And that's what we're seeing with all these banks. Guys, I want to give you this number again. $220 billion. Sounds like a lot of money, $220 billion. Guys, The banking system is supposed to have $22 trillion in it, and it's got 220 billion. And what you understand is, oh, well, no, they're lending it out. They're just tied up in investments. Well, yeah, they're tied up in leverage. Like nine trades down the road is where you can find the source, where the actual dollars are backing it. It's leverage on top of leverage on top of leverage on top of leverage. Here's another interesting number for you guys. $500 billion. 500 billion, okay? That is, no, that's not right. $500 trillion, excuse me. That is a lot of money. $500 trillion is the estimate of the total value of all of the money in the world together. That's including real estate markets, anything that's real, or any real assets, okay? Do you guys know how much money is in the world? 2 quadrillion. And that's an estimate, but that's maybe on the lower side of the estimate. There's literally 4 times the amount of fake money and derivatives, which is leverage on top of leverage on top of leverage. It's not real money. It's not real assets, okay? 4 times more fake money than real money in the world. And when you start realizing that, and you really start breaking down this banking system, you really start to understand that you've got to detach from this banking system. If you're not in one of the major 4 or 5 banks in the United States, you need to be moving. You need to be getting your money out of your bank because there's a great chance it's going to collapse. A great chance. If you listen to what Janet Yellen was saying the other day with the meeting, I think on the Senate floor, what she's saying about community banks, like community banks are not protected, guys. If you got a local bank, you're not protected. And I know it's unfortunate that you would have to move from a local bank to like Bank of America or something like that. But, or you can be like me and just unplug from the banking system. Just unplug for it. Get crypto cards, spend your crypto, and just be done with the banking system. That's what I've done. I'm done with it. No more banks for me. Only crypto cards from this point forward. That's what we're going to be using. Now, we were able to secure a backup bank account. We actually did get one. It's, I can't remember the name of the company. But the point is, why do I have that? Well, in the rare case that I could only write a check, I have it as a backup. But I'm not putting money in it. I'm only going to put money in it when I need to put money in it if there was a check that I had to write for a large amount. So that's how I would really encourage you guys to use the banking system. Use the banking system as a backup. Use it as a backup. Don't ever let your bank be the main place you're running money through. Sounds crazy, I know, but you look around with the Ponzi scheme that's going around the rest of the world with the banking system, and you understand the only way to protect yourself is to unbank yourself. And I can tell you, from using my card, all my debit cards at different places, the only card that never lets me down, that I never have to worry about getting declined, it's my Crypto.com card. It's the only one that I never have to worry about getting declined. I've always got it as a backup. Well, now the backup is becoming plan A. Plan B, well, that's Bitcoin. You can unbank from the banking system. You'd be better off for it. All right, guys, that's all I got. Be blessed. Bye-bye out.